Do you think workflows will be there in the longer run and every designer will be jumping to that?
A filmmaker would be able to, or someone who is regularly producing viral content will be able to look at something and go, no, I can see you need to change that. You need to edit that 3-second clip into a 2.5-second clip, because at the point where the person looks away, it's these little nuanced details that they know is going to make it, like what to put at the beginning of the video. What does the text say?
Do you think, like, when I think about workflow, what my intuition is, like, the future of workflow is about, let's suppose, there will be an agent that knows about my paid marketing performance of Meta, and I just say, can you replicate around 10 winning assets that were winning yesterday? Thank you for being in the show, and it's amazing to host you. And like, just looking at your portfolio, looking at your LinkedIn, what an amazing personality, what an amazing career you have. It's amazing talking to you.
Thank you so much, man. I feel very honored to be to be included in this and just part of the team. I mean, ImagineArt's been around for a while. You guys are doing really cool stuff. So yeah, it's an honor for me as well. So thank you.
It's amazing. So let's get into it. Like, I was looking at your origin story, and you have been working with Disney, Red Bull, Samsung, and like, when is the moment you realize like origami wasn't just a side project? It was something actual that you want to build it for your in your lifetime.
When I started with, so that for context, that's what I did. I was an origami artist before I did stop motion animation using paper. And, when I was doing that, I just had a feeling it was not going to be the thing I was always doing. I'm a creative person, but I'm also a very technical person. So I was always I come from a web development background. So I used to be building applications and websites. So the origami thing, I think, origami itself is a mixture of, I think, technical abilities, which is folding, and creativity, coming up with different ideas. And I think I didn't set out to become an origami artist. It was just something that happened to kind of fall into place for me, because I used social media. So I used Instagram at the time. This was in 2014, so 12 years ago, just as Instagram was kind of on the uptick. And I think I just caught it at the right time. I was posting content regularly. I was posting every day. I was creating new content. And it was just before the influencer marketing thing started happening. And brands did start seeing by the end of the year for me that was something that they could use. They could use this channel to promote their products, whatever it was. And then just, through a series of me being persistent with origami, all those brand collaborations came up with Disney. And I was very fortunate to do work with a lot of international companies. I'm based in Cape Town, and the work I was doing was all working from home and in a small studio. But I guess the more I did the work, the more I realized that I needed to find something a bit more sustainable. I needed to find something. I just couldn't see a way of using what I was doing, which was origami, in that. But I was doing animation, and I figured that animation was probably going to be something that was a bit more in line with either starting a studio or because I was working by myself. And when AI came along, this was in 2022, I remember making an image with Midjourney. This was still in Discord, still using very technical terms, /imagine, do the whole thing. And making an image with a piece of text for me was, because I come from a web development background, there was something about that moment that I was like, wow, this technology obviously doesn't exist before. I mean, I don't have to explain it to you because you're in it, but I think for me, it was a moment where I was like, this is the future. This is the future of creativity. This is the future of digital content, at least. And I just didn't stop. So that was 2022. Later that year in November, ChatGPT came out. I was using its API to try and build applications and just trying to make as many things as possible. So I just continued doing that. And over time, I switched from Instagram onto LinkedIn, and I moved the profile from my Instagram profile to my personal account on LinkedIn. And I used the same process. Sorry to cut you off, but I used this exact same process that I used to build a following on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I used that on LinkedIn, which was connecting with people, posting regularly, making the work creative. and liking, commenting, engaging with those that were doing similar work. And then I was just fortunate enough to, also catching it at the right time as, companies like yourself, all the other big guys, I was put onto their creator program. So I was getting credits to use all of these tools. And for me, that was just such a wonderful thing because I was able to express and explore and test and then create content off the back of that. And that's part of what I do now. And as a result of me showing all of this content, putting it out there, my old boss, actually, when I was a web developer, he saw what I was doing, and he exited that company. So he did quite well for himself with that company. And he just came to me. He's like, look, you are clearly doing this. You're quite ahead of everybody else. Let's formulate this. I was teaching people at the time how to use AI. And we started Zain Robot, and Zain Robot is the company that now I am the creative director and a partner of, the co-founder. And we have two pillars to the business. One is creating content for brands, and the other one is teaching. Through a masterclass, we have boot camps and a whole bunch of other products as well. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And when I look at specifically the personal branding side, I always believe it's like a pure perseverance. It's like it's always hard work. It's always that daily posting. It's always about connecting with the right people. But like coming back to the question, it's like like I myself is a software developer. Like I've been into the technical side, and then building ImagineArt is like it's extremely different. Node pool. So when you think about a technical person getting into art and design, getting into this visual side, like how did you reflect back, and how did you compare yourself with other creators, with the people who have background in film or background in design and art? How did you compare them, and what's the main thing? What excites you about that?
Fortunately, I don't really compare myself to other people. I think when I find myself comparing myself to other people, then I feel like I'm lacking something in myself. So immediately I've got that in me where I'm like, I shouldn't be trying to create what other people are creating. I don't consciously try and create content that is different to everyone else's. I just think as a result of me listening to what I feel, I look around. I mean, I get inspired by what a lot of artists are doing and creators, and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, that's working. That's cool. I like the way that did it. I'll give you an example, like Rory Flynn, who's a very big, he's got a big name in the AI space. One example, I remember just the way that he presented the content by showing a still image and then a video. And Rory's a very, he's very ahead of, like he's a step ahead of a lot of people. And I watched what he did there with a couple of the ways in which he presented the content. I wasn't copying the content, but just the presentation to me made sense. It's like taking a still image, which is your start frame, and showing the video on the side. And that became something I was like, just seeing that and being like, okay, cool. Well, that's a cool way to present the content. And I've always I've looked at the way that the content has been presented as opposed to what content is being produced, and used that as inspiration for what might go forward. So instead of just looking at someone and trying to replicate what they're doing, I look at how they've presented it, and I try and present my own ideas in a similar fashion, obviously without taking exactly what it is. And that's just how I've worked from the beginning. As a creator or an artist, I think that you have to be inspired by those that are doing things around you. You have to look at, you don't have to, this is the way just I see it, is taking into account what they're doing and admiring their work, but trying to create your own version of what it is they've produced in a slightly different way. And if you are going to get inspired by somebody, this is something I've been very conscious of too, is if you're going to use somebody else's design, somebody else's format, just credit them in the caption. Just say, I got this idea from so-and-so. Thank you so much for sharing all your content. And I think that's how most of these digital or online communities grow, is by connecting with people in a public space, being like, I produced this. I was inspired by so-and-so's, whatever workflow. And then me sharing a new workflow, I'll get tagged by somebody else saying, hey, I got this from Ross Symons. This is what he produced, and this is how it inspired my post. That's, to me, I think, is the most organic way of going about growing an account and connecting with your peers and connecting with people that are doing similar work to you.
Yeah, yeah, and I think so. Like Ross, like coming into this art and design field with a technical background, for me, it really helped me a lot because, like as a technical background, you can understand where when you're working on the laptops, when you're working on this technical side on machine learning models, so we can understand, like how this world works, and it's always a plus point. Coming back to the point of this craft of content creation. So when you think about like what's happening in this market is, I'm again looking at this market and I'm thinking about this like people are facing a lot of issues in this consistent characters making this 20 seconds and 30 seconds flows. Like in
Mm.
ImagineArt, whenever I talk to my customer support team, they told me everyone comes to them and they say generate me a video for 1 minute. And I just told them, like that's not truly, you can generate that, but you have to work that. You have to build a
Yeah.
workflow, and you have to do all this first frame, last frame, and this concatenations, and merge them. But like there's a lot of people are coming, and this is like non AI designers. They just want to create a 1 minute video with the consistent characters. So tell me,
Mm.
what's your workflow for creating consistent character videos?
Mm. Well, I mean, if no one has ever used the tools before, I think that AI has got I not well the narrative or the story around AI is it's quick and it's easy, and you use a prompt and you can get a 1 minute video. And when people people that are, I'm not saying people who are non-technical, people who have never attempted to use the tools before, when they start using the tools, and they're like, oh, I saw this guy created this thing, or this person created this thing, they put it on, and they said how quick and easy it was. That's another thing. The creators are, some people are saying, I made this thing in 5 minutes, or it took me 30 seconds to make this thing. And I think that is just, in a way, it's clickbait, because it is attracting attention to the post, which, if you're creating content, that's what you need to do. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think it is a false representation of how difficult or how easy it is to use AI. So when you hear that somebody created this in 1 minute or 30 seconds, what they don't know is all the work that went in before that. And to your question, getting consistency across characters. So you need consistency across the character. Well, you need character consistency, you need style consistency, and you need environment consistency. Those are all three different things. And if you can't gain control over those three things, regardless of the tool that you're using, whether you're using, Nano Banana inside ImagineArt, or you're using Midjourney outside of that and bringing it into ImagineArt as an example, I think that you have to learn how to get, and also using a large language model, using ChatGPT, using Gemini, I wouldn't use Claude really, but ChatGPT and Gemini to gain consistency in terms of, this is another thing people I think don't fully they just overlook. They think that they have to do everything in the platform, and that traditional methods or other tools shouldn't be used, or they don't know how to use them. For example, using a large language model to get the prompts, which are going to get you consistency for the images. That's the base level understanding of how you should work. And if you don't know how to move from that to that, or character in frame 1 to character in frame 2, you don't really need to know, but you need to know how to ask the large language model to explain to you how to get from A to B, or from frame 1 to frame 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and so on. And that requires work. This is not something that I just one day worked out. This, over time, it worked out. And because if you have been using the tools from the beginning, you grew with the tools. Like myself, for example, as the new features came out, like before there was no start frame. When you started using, I think one of the first tools I used was Luma, and there was no start frame. It was only prompting. Or Pika Labs is a good example. Like, you could only put in a prompt before you had a start frame. So when there was a start frame, then that made sense that you could use the start frame to drive the rest of the video. And at the beginning, they were all terrible. All the models were like really, really bad. But as the models got better, and as the technology got better, start and end frame, you could then loop, you could then extend, and all these features, as they started getting built on, if you get presented with all of these features and understandings without knowing the basics of the difference between a large language model and a diffusion model, so how to create images and text, and then moving into that space to try and get consistency across characters, that is like way down the line. But personally, for me, it's just, using a large language model. I use ChatGPT a lot of the time to help me create Mid-Journey images. I start with Mid-Journey. If Mid-Journey doesn't quite get the results that I want, I take the style that I'm able to produce in Mid-Journey, move that into whether it is ImagineArt or any other platform, and then use the models inside there. So Nano Banana, Flux, Grok's model is pretty good. And yeah, there's different approaches and different ways of going about it, but that's essentially the flow that I use.
Yeah, and like Ross, like a little quick question, like whenever you teach, just courses, AI courses and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is like the people who are coming into the courses are designers or non-designers? Like what's the ratio between both of them?
That's a very good question. We have a mix. It is sometimes we get people from. We've got people from all over the place. We've had people from financial companies, but in the creative department. For the most part, it is mostly creatives. Some people are just interested in the technology and they've seen some of the work that gets produced, and they are fascinated and curious as to how it works. So, but for the most part, it is people from advertising, film, design, illustration, anyone who wants to bridge the gap between what they know in terms of design. So let's say the analogy I use with AI is AI can turn a farmer into a designer overnight. A farmer can decide, he doesn't want to be a farmer anymore. He wants to be a designer, and he can learn, or he can use a large language model. He can use an image model to help him create designs. The quality of the content that he's going to produce is not going to be as good as a designer who also uses AI, because a designer has a deep understanding, or 10, 15 years in the field of design, and knows, and they have taste. They know that what the model produces is like, yes, it produces something, but is it good or bad? That's what a designer knows compared to a farmer. So anyone can do it and anyone can use it. But a lot of the people that we end up teaching are people who are just curious and have at least 5 years of experience in a specific field of design. And that can be VFX, it can be 3D, it can be creating documentaries, it can be design. So it really is a mixed bag. But we do find it's a slightly older crowd as well. So people 35 plus, people who've got a little bit more money, and people who they know that AI is not going anywhere, and they want to try and bridge the gap between their understanding of a particular field of expertise, be it in design or film, and bridging that gap to becoming AI enhanced in a way.
Yeah, and Ross, like that's one of the questions. Like I've been thinking a lot on this. I believe there will be a one person who's going to make up, one person company making $1 billion in ARR, $1 billion company. And like whenever I think about this question more and more, I realize it's like not everyone in the world. There's might be around like 7 to 8% are designers, and 93% are in non-designers. So like coming back to this question is, I always think about, let's suppose if there's a non-designer coming to this workflow, and if there's some crazy agent of cinematic workflows, an agent for social media reels, and you just ask him for create a complete Instagram ad for his own brand. He just push, he just add his link, add a product. The agent, what to do is like create a complete story of 1 minute, and like it will be top notch content, and it might get some good, so it solves the problem for that person who's a solo founder building a unicorn company by himself. So do you think the future design is going towards that? Like in AI, there's a lot of non-coders are using Lovable to produce websites, and in design there will be a chance in 2026, like you can create a 1 minute or 2 minute videos, even if you're not designers. And like, do you think that product would be just a simple chatbot with a lot of agents working for it?
I think that is definitely a possible future. I think the agentic space still has there's a lot of development that needs to go on. Yes, people are in the same way that, in 2022 when Midjourney came out, a diffusion model was very basic. So I think the agents are in 2022 now, like they're just starting to become a lot more usable. I have yet to see an example where the agent works by itself to do something without the human getting involved. I mean, I was building an app recently with Claude. I know Claude isn't quite agentic. There is an agentic element to it, but just the fact that you can build with a tool like that without having to, be a developer. I am a developer, so I know what questions to ask it. I know, like, setting up something in a GitHub repository and like all of those things. Like if it told a non-technical person how to do all of those things, they'd be like, I don't know what this is. And they would either stop and get a more technical person to come in, or they'd be like, okay, well, I'm willing and curious enough to try and move forward with that. But I think with, creating the 1 minute and 2 minute campaigns and videos, it is going to serve for the general public. Absolutely. Like if it's your 93% example of people who don't have design or coding or technical understandings, the quality of the content is going to be based on the median of what the tools are able to produce. So the agents are going to produce something, and yes, you're going to tell. The thing is, if you don't know what to tell the agent, if you just say to the agent, "Go make me a video for this product," and it needs to go viral. Okay, great. So the agent's going to go around and do the thing. It's going to produce something. There are nuances in what virality and what what causes a piece of content to become popular. But those are the little details that I don't think we're quite there with technology. Where, back to my, example of a designer and a farmer, a filmmaker would be able to, or someone who is regularly producing viral content will be able to look at something and go, no, I can see you need to change that. You need to edit that 3-second clip into a 2.5-second clip, because at the point where the person looks away, it's these little nuanced details that they know is going to make it, like what to put at the beginning of the video. What does the text say? Is there text at the top or the bottom? What do you need to start the post with? Does it need to, it's all these things that are I'm speaking really from a marketing perspective here, but there are, with anything, it's like you are going to be able to produce a 1 minute or a 2 minute video at a very low cost, and the quality is going to be amazing. The quality of the content itself, but is it going to resonate with an audience? I don't know. That is to be decided. I personally think that people are still going to know that there's something a little bit off, but it's going to be, for those types of videos, it's going to be YouTube pre-roll ads. It's like the ads that just are coming in at bulk. The creative and the content that you really want to sit and watch and engage with, stories and with good narratives, that I think is still going to require a lot of human touch.
Yeah. And Ross, like let's suppose if there are non-designers, they will be jumping into, some agent with a chat interface, and they try to solve their problem with that. But when it comes to specifically, I look into this node-based structures, and you've been posting a lot about node-based structures as well, workflows. So do you think, what's the future of node-based workflows? Do you think every designer in the world will be using node workflows in the longer run? Like that is a new Photoshop? Or do you think it's extremely complex right now? We need to make it more simpler, and making it simpler means that maybe you have to have a mode of, in workflows, there need to be a mode of something like, FigJam, or they need to be like agent who can build that workflows. So there are two parts of question. Do you think workflows will be there in the longer run, and every designer will be jumping to that?
I think node-based is the future. I really do think that. And the only reason I say that is because with the way that we structure our masterclass and when we do, in-person boot camps, every time what we do is we take people from the basics of image generation all the way through to creating videos. And only at the end do we show them node-based. We show them whatever's available, Flora, or Weavy or any other tool. And only once they've gone through the process of understanding the basic fundamentals, not tools, the fundamentals of the differences between the types of tools and how you connect them together. When you show them a node-based application after that, and they see everything on one canvas, that's the moment where they're like, aha, I understand now. And I'm basing my prediction on that node-based interfaces are going to be the future of design, because of the reaction that I've seen from designers that are being exposed to AI and generative AI for the first time, or on a specific level, and then being exposed to node-based, and they're like, what is that? Like, that is amazing, because they can see it all on one canvas. I think that is the big difference, where you going from tool to tool in different tabs. If everything is under one roof and you now understand this is a text box, this is a video box, and this is an image box, this is how I connect them, and this is how I need to prompt for them. Something that I cannot put my finger on why it is like just so impactful, but it really is.
And do you think, look, every designer in the world is going towards workflows? Every designer who is a professional one will be using workflows?
I'm not sure. I think that there is still space for those that just want to dabble. And I think that, just with all the vibe coding and all the tools available at the moment, I think people are really just going to come up with their own workflows and their own, node-based, be it node-based. But I think that if you look at some of the applications that are available, like workflows, for example, it just, if it makes sense to you and it feels like something you can understand, then yes, you're going to definitely use it. But some people are quite easy with just sticking to a little prompt box at the top, making an image and then working through it like that. So I think, but from a scalability perspective, I would say node-based is probably the future of a lot of things. It's what happened. Like, I think that the next level of node-based is, how do you take the content that you develop in, workflows, for example, you've got all that content there. You want to edit a video. You want to add sound, you want to add, you want to do A/B testing. You want to create 3 versions of the video. You want to stitch all the videos together. You want to see what it looks like in a minute-long video. That's the next level, right? Like the editing within. Do you stay within that? Do you plug all 3 of those into a video thing and then it does it all itself via an agent, which is probably, something that whether you guys are working on that or the other node-based applications are. But I think that is probably the next step of all of this. Still keeping everyone in the same place, but you just get all the raw videos, which is raw clips that are coming out, the 5-10 second clips, and then plugging that into a finished, completed video.
We are on it, like we will be, hopefully we'll be shipping in the next 2 months. And we know, like, this is the future.
Okay,
and
amazing.
like Ross, I'm trying to understand it. Like we have this problem in ImagineArt as well. We think about this, we have this, create section where you can create image, video, audio, and, these apps and stuff with the in-paint and upscale separately with the UI. And there's one workflow section. So do you think the workflow section is more towards, when I think about the workflow, I think about, professional teams, I think about it should be a platform for teams. It should be a platform for enterprises. It should not be a platform for B2C. And I think it need to be a complete, you need to have this brand kit option visible in front. You have to have that, campaign section. There need to be integration section where you can connect Meta, where you can connect, when I think about workflow, like the future, but when it comes to in my mind, it's like, so let's get back to the first question. Do you think workflows is for B2B users?
I think that if you can find a way, and I don't know the answer to this, but I think that if you can find a way where it's not too, okay, let me answer it this way. When I'm working on Canva, for example, and I know that I've got one of my team members working on the Canvas document as well, and he's doing something and I'm doing something over here, I'm very conscious of them being there with me and working with me. So it's not that I'm worried about making mistakes. I just don't want to overwrite. I don't want to overwrite their work, and I don't want to, I don't want to get involved with what they're doing too much. I think that what is nice is having that canvas, on workflows, for example, and you've got people working and you can see they're working. If they're working on separate stuff, that's cool. Then it's like this plugs into that. And then if you meet, you just say, cool, well, let's see what happens when you plug these 2 features together. But there is the collaborative essence of working like that, I think it is a very new way of working. And I think that time will tell whether that is the best way to go about, in terms of B2B. Or maybe it'll be more siloed. Maybe it'll be like, cool, we've got this entire workflow. This is the core of what this workflow does. You work on this, you work on this, and you work on that, and then we'll come together to put it together. I think that time will tell whether it is going to work. But I think that definitely from a B2B perspective, it could definitely work.
And like Ross, do you think, like, when I think about workflow, what my intuition is, like, the future of workflow is about, let's suppose there will be an agent that knows about my paid marketing performance of Meta, and I just say, can you replicate around 10 winning assets that were winning yesterday? Can you generate for that for me? Do you believe the future is about agents having an integration of Meta performance, and it's creating winning assets for you without you have to pull the data and understand it, prompt it up? It will do it by yourself.
I think that the agent has to be in there. I mean, some of the workflow or the node-based apps that I've been using have agents built into them already. And it's helpful. It's helpful to format. It's helpful to lay things out. It's helpful to, hey, turn these wide angle shots into portrait shots, because this is for YouTube, but I also need it for Instagram and LinkedIn, for example. So editing, formatting, the grunt work, again, the work that takes long in Photoshop or Canva or whatever other tool you're using, the agent is definitely going to be there for that. I think in terms of it being able to analyze a full campaign, and it's got the metrics and it's got the data, you are still going to need someone. Yes, it is. Maybe it can produce. It's like, cool, here, you go have a cup of coffee and you come back after half an hour and you'll have your 5 adverts. And they're all A/B tested against different personas and done the thing. But again, the only way that you're going to know whether that content works or not is when you put it out. So you're going to put it out and we're going to be like, oh, we got an agent to make us ads in half an hour, and I did it while I was making coffee. And then the results that come back is like, you've had 0 clicks, 0 views, 0 reposts. And you're like, okay, so why is this not working? So now, do you have to get an analyst in to look at your content and be like, okay, well, firstly, the agent is completely wrong because it did X, Y, and Z. And then it's fine tuning the model. But you have to go through this process. So then you're teaching the agent, saying, agent, do this, don't do that. Do this, don't do that. We tested it against that. We know that you think this. It's the same. I mean, ChatGPT, for example, like, you can ask it for something. It'll give you a result. You know that it's incorrect. And you say, that's incorrect. And it'll agree with you. It'll tell you, yes, you are incorrect. So the answer that it gives you, it's always going to give you an answer. So the answer in this case is it gives you a campaign ready advert. Amazing. Is that answer correct? The only way you will know is if you test it and put it out. So yes, agents have to be included, and you have to work with it in order to get the best results. But I think that it's still going to be a lot of trial and error before it gets to that point.
Yeah, I agree. To be very honest, I'm really excited about that future, where I can like ask some OpenClaw to generate me like build my AI Instagram influencer profile without knowing me, and just paste, create a content, paste it on the Instagram every 12 hours in a day, and like try to understand what's working, what's not working. There's a lot of bunch of cool like this AI bots, AI Instagram influencers. That's what excites me, So, like, coming back to you.
Sorry, just to answer that question, just to jump in there. I think that I can see from your perspective that the fun part is actually building, analyzing, checking. It's not about creating something. And I think that this is where people are getting it wrong. Is it's not actually about trying to create as much content as possible and build up a 1 million follower account by doing 0 work. It's not about that. It's about testing. I guarantee you, any of those AI profiles, the team behind that, whether it's 1 person or 5 people, are constantly checking, is this thumbnail correct? Is the length of the video correct? Is the color correct? Is the character consistent? These are things that they are checking. You cannot ask the machine yet whether this is working or not. And you can post, I've seen accounts where it's got maybe 140 posts, which is not a lot of posts, with 1.5 million followers. But then you go and look at the content.
Wow.
The content is good. And the content is not good because it's AI. The content is good because the person posting the content or the person watching the content before it goes out knows what is good and what is bad, or what is good and what is not going to work. So that there's always going to be that layer. Sorry, I just wanted to bring that up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I really that was my wish list. What is your wish list in the next 12 to 18 months? Like something that you wanted to some platform to achieve that. Anything that you feel like that's magical.
I wish the tools were cheaper. I think that, look, that's just one thing. I think that like the cost of the tools has to come down. Prompt adherence, I think, is always going to be something that needs to be looked at. But if you see the models coming out now, the video models, and if you see what C Dance, I mean, how good that is, the C Dance 2 from a video perspective. So I think that, I don't really have a wish list. It's just right now, I think I'm, in the same space as you. It's just, I'm so excited about the technology and so excited to teach people about what it's capable of and trying to create, just something that is of use. The example I get, I mentioned earlier that I was building something using Claude. Like I haven't actually built an application or tool or website in a while, but using Claude and getting back into that development phase is so fun. It just feels good. And I think that, being able to do that is, it's quite an amazing thing. And for us to be here already and having all this technology available, is quite phenomenal. So in terms of a wish list, I really hope that this AI bubble that everyone is talking about eventually going to burst. Whether it does or not, I think that the tools that are here now, if the tools as they are remain and maybe just get slightly better, that is enough, because they are good enough at this stage.
Yeah, true. And when you talk about, this cost production, I believe, I was thinking in 2025, what I was thinking is again and again in my mind, is like the image generation cost will be going to zero. And right now in 2026, it's like almost zero. There's a lot of platforms that are giving unlimited generations on image. And I believe in 2027, the video generation the cost will be zero. It's there's a lot of platforms will be giving a lot of unlimited generations. And in the start, the technology is expensive, and in the longer it will be cost, the cost will be go down. But specifically when you look at a lot of platforms, there's a lot of everyone is shipping the same thing. You feel like everyone is doing the same thing. What do you think, what's missing? And specifically when you have this Claude code, you can build your own platform as well. You can code any platform nowadays, in just 2 days, 3 days with, some file integrations, and everything will work there. What do you think, what should be the moat, how one platform can be stand out to another platform?
I personally enjoy the when I'm really getting into making videos, is I love doing the sound side of it, but sound requires a lot of work. Like if you're putting sound effects in or knowing what's going to sound good in terms of a soundscape or music, you can use Suno, you could use 11 Labs to create the sound effects for you. But I think that if there's a way, and there are some tools that are doing it, but dropping in a clip and it perfectly syncing like the sound effects to that and giving you multiple options like you would with 4 generations out of an image model. I think that is something that could separate a lot of tools. Because people don't know, the sound is the last thing that people consider, but it is the thing that, a lot of, like when you watch a good piece of content, the sound is good and the sound sync up to the model, to the visuals really well. And it's those little nuances that I think are great. Also picking the right song. I think that sound is something that's maybe a little bit overlooked. So I think that to get a model to separate itself, that's probably not a bad option. But I think that simplicity, like I've heard so many people say, I've got a Midjourney and a Kling and a ImagineArt and all these subscriptions. Which one is the best one? And what do I do? that is probably going to be, someone needs to simplify that process of, and that's what node-based is. So I think node-based is definitely going to work. Another thing I think that might also become quite, whether people are working on it or not, is having a wallet that allows you to just have credits, and it doesn't matter which application you're linked to. So you can use the same wallet for ImagineArt, you can use it for Midjourney, you can use it for Luma, and it doesn't matter. It connects it via MCP and just does that. Someone there, I predicted that last year, and I think that 2026, by the end of this year, there are going to be at least one or two wallets where you can do that. So it comes off your bank account, and it's just like, just top me up. I don't care. It's the same as what Hugging Face, what Fell, all of them are doing. You just have a little credit system. And also off the back of, with the NFTs and all of the blockchain stuff that happened a couple of years ago, wallets were a very popular thing. So that was a very technical thing to do. But some of the wallets that worked were just very, basic central wallets where you just put money in, and then each month it comes off. So you pay your $30 a month and you can use it on any platform, but not, and then also rolling over credits. That's another thing that I think can separate a platform. Get your credits to roll over. Pay for $10, and then that $10, if you only used $8, those $2 go over to the next month. And you cap it at 3 months and just say, look, if you haven't used your credits, then I think that'll help separate, because this monthly charge where you I know myself with Midjourney, I'm sitting there, the day that I know I'm going to get charged again, I'm sitting there with 14 hours left of my 15. I'm like, I need to use it. And I end up just making images for the sake of making images. And then it resets to 15. So if that was a change there, that could help as well.
Yeah. And specifically, when you're teaching into enterprises, you've been into enterprise a lot. So tell me, what are the issues people are facing in enterprise, about this content generations, what are their issues?
So in corporates and enterprises, the biggest issue, the first question people always ask is can we use this technology, and what are the legal and ethical implications behind it? Which, unfortunately, I'm not a lawyer. We don't have lawyers that work for us. So it's difficult for us to answer those questions, but it is a major concern. It's we have an agreement with Google, for example, and we use Gemini as our large language, our LLM, as opposed to ChatGPT. And can we put campaign data into ChatGPT? Is it going to be exposed to the entire world? Normal, valid questions, but those are a lot of things that come up with corporates. In terms of, just the content generation, and I think corporates, I don't want to say anyone, but generally, people are only now at the beginning of, maybe, let's say, halfway through last year, are starting to wake up to the fact that, okay, we actually need to start teaching our people how to use this. It's not something that you can tell a single person in a company, okay, you are the AI person. You need to go work out how all of this stuff works, because it's impossible. And that's essentially what Zain Robot does, is we research, we understand, we see what works, and then we teach it. And you need to find either partners or a team within your company to just be the AI department that then shows the entire company how all of this technology works. Because there are 100 tools. Some people use ChatGPT, some people use Gemini, and some prefer this to that. And when trying to bring it together, there's this disparity because no one's understanding the basics of what a large language model is, what a diffusion model is, how you use a start frame to kick off a video, and how you start daisy chaining or using all those tools together. That is just, it's normal corporate issues that I think that not only exist now with AI, they've existed from the beginning. And corporates are very slow to kind of adopt the technology, and the rate at which AI is moving, I think, is intimidating them because they are like, oh, we feel so in the dark because we don't know where all of this is going and what's the best tools. And essentially, all we really explain to them is over, a course of 4 days is this is where you start. This is what you need to understand. And we'll give you the understanding that you can use whichever tools you want, but this is how you get going and this is how you move forward.
Yeah, it's amazing talking to you, Ross. And we are shipping, ImagineArt we're launching a director mode for filmmakers. I would love to want you to test it out. Hopefully, it will be launched in a couple of weeks, and we're doing some experimentation on workflows as well. So, love to collaborate with you.
Yes.
Oh, thanks, Raj. Yeah, thanks, Raj. And so Ross, it's great talking to you. I really love the overall observation of where the industry is going on, and it's amazing to be a part of ever changing. Like I woke up, I check Twitter, and I got I got goosebumps. I couldn't like even in the midnight, if I check my Twitter, I could not able to sleep properly because this is a really amazing time. This is really exciting time for us. And Ross, we'll love to have a participation with you with your training programs with ImagineArt. And we'll love to collaborate with you in any possible way.
Amazing. Thank you, man. Yeah, look, I feel the same about this space. It's like, it is very exciting. And I think it's quite intimidating for a lot of people. But I think that what we're trying to do is we're just trying to just help creatives understand that it is just technology, and it does require you to understand and learn how it works. And yeah, hopefully we can work together to try and just help as many people as possible. We have a couple of programs, and we have a Gen AI Academy as well. So this is more of we create tutorials, and people learn from those tutorials, as opposed to a 4-week or 4-day long seminar. So we've got quite a lot of products, but yeah, I mean, definitely, I think what you guys are doing at ImagineArt is great. We have collaborated in the past as well. So it's just nice to be part of this amazing space.
It's amazing insights, and thank you for your time. It's amazing talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too. Cheers. Bye-bye.